Hey guys, it's Maymay, and today we're going to do this wood grain technique, which I'm seeing everywhere. And I learned this from Gina K over at Stamp TV. I watched her do this one time and I thought, I want to show you guys how to make a card doing it. I have done this in an art journal before, so you've probably seen it last year in my scripture art journaling, but I thought this would be fun. So in the front we've got the wood grain, and this is kind of a masculine feel to me. And on the inside I did a little stamp of some scripture, so there's that one. Now this is the red and brown theme, but we're going to do a gray and pink theme and play with some Easter stamps because I'm looking forward to Easter, to spring. Okay, so I have two white pieces of cardstock that are cut the same size. Here's the only thing you need to know. Whatever size you want your wood grain piece to be, cut these two pieces the same, okay? So I cut mine so that they'll kind of nest inside of my mat. This is the pale pink mat I'm going to use, and so this is going to nest inside of there for the front of my card. So I have two of these white pieces. Now why is that? Because one we're going to cut into wood strips, and the other, look, there's a project I hadn't finished. So one we're going to cut into wood strips, and one is going to be what we glue them back onto. I just found that's the easiest way for me. Now for the fun part, you're just going to cut this paper up. I say this is the fun part. It gets even more fun. I'm going to cut the first one at like 1/4 of an inch and then lay it out here beside you. You don't have to worry too much about keeping them in order or anything. Just cut them up. And the next one I'm going to do at 3/4 of an inch. The good thing is, because these two pages are the same size, really no matter what you cut them at, they'll lay back down on that piece of paper we did, because we're starting at two of the same size pieces. You could do these all the same size. Like you could have all of your wood cut the same size. I just thought it was kind of fun to kind of do little strips. Now when you get down to here, it gets a little more difficult, but just, you know, take your time, be careful with it, and figure out what sizes you want everything. I'm trying to figure out what size to do this one. I think about right there. And I like the bigger planks and the smaller planks all mixed together, so that's what we're doing with that. Now the real fun part. You just thought that was the fun part. I have a piece of white paper here that I'm going to do this on. I would normally do this in my little scrap notebook, but I want you guys to be able to see it, and this gets real messy kind of quick. So now that I've got this piece of paper here, I'm going to take just a little tape runner. This is a little Elmer's tape runner that I just kind of keep in my stash, and I'm just going to run it in a couple of places on my page to make my page sticky, and then I'm going to do this because I don't want it super sticky. I'm just going to get some of the oils off my finger and kind of, you know, just make it kind of tacky. Then I'm going to take these strips of paper, and I found that I can do 2 at a time if I'm using a full-size ink pad, and 3 at a time if I'm using the little minis, and I'm going to use the minis for this one. I used on the, just so you know, on that first card I showed you, I used this one, the antique, the vintage photo. That's the one I used on the first card. On this one, I'm going to use a distress ink that's called Weathered Wood. Wow, that's hard to say. Okay, so here's what you do. You're going to take the edge of your ink pad, okay, the little edge, and you're going to use that to your advantage. Now, when you put this down onto your paper, it is so hard for me to show you how this works. Let me see if I can do it with a scrap piece. Okay, so here's my paper, and I'm going to take the edge of this, and I'm going to touch it to the paper and slide, okay? So just the edge is going to touch the paper. I'm not laying it flat down. That's how you get the striation or the wood look, okay? So I'm going to start on this piece, and wherever you touch this tip down, you're going to get a darker mark, and that's what we're looking for. See how dark that is? I'm okay with that because as we go, they're going to change. So I'm going to come over here and do the next one. You can press harder or lighter. See how we got darker and lighter wood, and then here. Oops, I only got half of that one, but that's okay because it's wood. It doesn't matter. All right, so now I'm going to turn it over. And notice how I went to different heights? That's because I want it to look like planks, okay? So now when I come back, I'm going to go to where I left off, touch down and pull, and it will look like a plank of wood when we put it all together. Touch and pull. Now this one I'm going to do really light because I did really dark down there, and I think that'll give it a really neat variation of color. So now we can just remove these guys. So there's a plank of gray wood, and let's do this one so you can see it. And this is why you want to unsticky that little tape a little bit so it'll be easier to get off. See that plank? And then this one. And then I'm just going to do this to the rest of these pieces, and then we'll assemble it. So now I have all my pieces of weathered wood. Now there's a couple of things you need to think about at this point. If you don't have a marker that matches this color fairly closely, you're going to want to take your ink pad and ink the edges just where it will meet, where the wood will meet each other, because you're going to want this to be a little darker here. So I just take that ink pad and just run it down and make this a little darker. That's if you don't have a marker that is slightly close in color, okay? Because you want those edges dark where they meet to really be able to see the wood grain. I'm going to use a marker, but I just wanted to show you that in case you didn't have one. All right, so, little glue. Take our little strips. And this is where that second piece of paper comes in handy. Now, you could put this directly down onto your card. That would be fine. But I find if I do this, if for some reason I need to adjust this page, maybe I got it too big or too small, it's easier to adjust because I just have all of it contained in one place. Now, the only thing I pay attention to here is wherever I have those joints in the wood where we kind of did the little notches in the wood, I want to make sure I'm not lining them up with each other. So like this one is up here at the top and this one's at the bottom, and that's what I'm looking for. That helps to give us that wood grain look. I can see you using this technique for so many things. Like I said, I did it in a scripture art journal, and I absolutely adore that page. It was one of my favorites. So I challenge you guys to try it all over the place and see what you get. So now we have all the pieces on that little page, and look how cute that looks. So I totally forgot to show you something, and I realized it when I went to take pictures of this dude. I forgot to show you putting the lines between these guys. Let me show you what happens. When you don't have the lines, it just kind of blurs together and doesn't look as wood grain. So what you want to do is take a ruler and take a marker where the color is similar to what you used and do a stripe where they meet. To me, this makes a big difference. Now, this is if you don't ink it. Remember how I showed you could use the ink on the edges? You just do this. Now, I think this makes a really big difference because it adds to the board look. Makes it look more like a board than just a pattern in the background. So anyway, I don't want you to miss out on that step because I think it really does matter. And I apologize for missing it. But I added it back in because I was like, I got to show them how to do this part. Okay, now we'll keep going. Now, I know you guys have seen all the wood grain projects floating around. They are everywhere. So I just think this is a great way to get it if you don't have a wood grain stamp. All right, now let's make some pieces to go on top. So I'm going to use this stamp set that's called Hair Peeking, and it's available in my store now. And I think this is going to be really super cute. I've cut two pieces to kind of go on top of each other. I want to show you my plan real quick before we go too crazy with this. I don't want to cover up all of the wood grain. I like it. I want you to be able to see it. So I did this tall, thin kind of placard kind of thing to go onto the front of the card. And I can put it here or I can put it anywhere. But I think this is a good way to show off those wood grain pieces so that you can tell that it's wood grain. So that's why this is cut a little different than I normally do. I'm going to use some Memento ink because I think I'm going to color this bunny today. And I'm going to ink up this little peeking bunny. This is the one that is made to peek around the corner, but he doesn't have to peek around. He can also be straight up and down. Just put him down in that little edge like he's peeking in. Super cute. And then I have the sentiment that says, "Hi, honey bunny." I'm going to put that right above this little guy. Just like that. And then let's color him. For the bunny, I want to do him gray, and I'm going to use IG1 and IG2 just because I want some really paler colors. And I'm just going to do a two-color situation. So I'm going to color him first with the lighter color, and then I'll come back in with the darker. That's just kind of the way I like to do it. I like to fill in the whole area first with the lighter color. Because I'm working in these small little ear areas, I'm going to work them two at a time. But if the space was larger, I wouldn't work, two at a time. I'd do one ear at a time. Now I'm just going to take this darker color and use it where I need some shadows. It's not a whole lot darker, but that's kind of what I was going for. I want to be able to have some definition, but I don't want it to be stark. I just want it to be a little bit. Then I'm going to come back in with that lighter color and blend them together. I don't like a perfect blend. I like to be able to see the difference. So you probably won't see a perfect blend. And he's going to be very pale colored because I don't want him to be dark. So there he is, very pale and very lightly colored. I just wanted him very, very light. I don't work in light colors very often, so I'm kind of challenging myself today to do that. Now I'm going to glue this little bunny down to our pink matte piece. He is so cute. Just like that. And then we'll start to assemble the card. For my card base, I'm using a gray piece of paper. It is an A2 size card, and I'm using the lighter side of this two-sided paper. This is some like rice paper, and I've been using a lot because I don't have a lot of pink in my stash, and this I do have in my stash. So using this color. Now for the wood grain, I think I'm going to pop it up. I did not pop it up on the last one, but I think I'm going to use some foam tape and pop this one up. So now I'm going to put that piece on so that some of that pink is showing around the edge. I like these colors together. So I have these super tiny little brads that were sent to me by a subscriber. They look like little buttons and they are adorable. And I think they'll be cute on the corners of this little piece. So I'm just going to poke a little hole here in each corner just so that little brad can feed through. I think it kind of gives the feel of nails, like onto the wood, even though it's not. It's just little brads, but it kind of gives the feel of a nail. And we'll poke this little guy through. The hole wasn't big enough. That's all right. By the way, for those of you who have been asking about this tool, I got an email that it's coming back to me. They're sending me a rush shipment. So hopefully next week, or this week actually, we will have them back in stock for you guys. Look how cute that little button is. Okay, I'm going to put all of those in. Added a little foam tape to the back of him, and now he is going to go right in this corner. I couldn't decide for sure, but I think I like him in this little bottom corner, like so. How cute, right? Now I'm going to do the inside. For the inside of the card, I'm going to make this little banner piece. You've seen me do these before, where you just slice up the center and then cut over to that part and come from the other side and do the same thing. Now, if you have a die, like there's a banner die that I just love, you could use it as well, but I just think this works pretty super quick and easy. Then I took from that same stamp set, this is the sentiment that says, "Somebody loves you." I'm going to ink it up. This is some Memento Tuxedo Black. I use this because I use the markers. And I'm going to stamp "Somebody Loves You" down here at the bottom. Just because I think it's cute. Then this light pink piece of paper I'm going to put on the inside of the card, and just for fun I'm going to stamp some of these little carrots around the bottom. Just because I thought that was cute to make kind of a little designer paper. Then this piece I'm going to put up here in this top corner and just glue that down. This is a great way to use up your scraps. This was actually a piece of scrap that I got out of my scrap drawer that I just used for this portion. That's why it's not the right length, because now I'm just going to do this and make it work. So this is the inside of the card, and I'm going to tell you, at the party this week, a lot of the ladies I had a card party this week, if you didn't see that on Periscope, and a lot of the ladies decorated the inside of their cards, which is something kind of new for our group. We haven't always done that, but I thought they were adorable. And my thing is this: if you're going to hand make a card, this is something that a person doesn't usually see in a store-bought greeting card, is the inside decorated as well. So check it out. It's super cute, right? So the front says, "Hi, honey bunny," and then inside they get even more pretties and plenty of space for you to write here, and you can always add a piece here to write too. I hope you enjoyed that wood grain look. I think it's super cool. So you can see that you can use it for very feminine and very masculine. Look at the difference. Isn't that cool? Let me know if you try this technique, and if you do, please share pictures with us over on my Facebook group, which is called Maymay Made It, and so did I. We are loving seeing what you guys are doing with the stamp sets. And if you're interested in any of the products that I used today in the video, anything that I can link you to, I will. It'll be below. A lot of these things I carry at my own store, which is maymaymadeit.com. You can catch me there. Talk to you soon, guys. Have a great day. Bye-bye.